At 8 a.m. on October 7, 2017, a father in Richardson, Texas, dialed the police in a state of urgency. He told dispatchers that his 3-year-old daughter had vanished from the backyard during the early morning hours. Officers responded quickly, expecting to handle what might be a routine missing child case. Instead, they would uncover a story filled with contradictions, disturbing admissions, and a truth that would shock the entire community. The father was 37-year-old IT professional Wesley Matthews. The missing child was his adopted daughter, Shireen Matthews. According to Wesley, Shireen had been standing outside alone near a tree at around 3:00 a.m. as punishment for not drinking her milk. When he checked on her approximately 15 minutes later, she was gone. From the very beginning, something about the story felt wrong. When officers arrived at the Matthews home, they quickly learned that Sharon had not wandered outside on her own. Wesley admitted that he had intentionally placed her there in the middle of the night. He claimed he was trying to discipline her because she refused to finish her milk. He said he stood inside the garage watching her for a short time before going back into the house. When he returned later, she had disappeared. The timeline immediately raised red flags. If Shireen had gone missing around 3:15 a.m., why did Wesley wait until 8 a.m. to call police? That 5-hour gap would become one of the most critical questions in the investigation. Search teams quickly mobilized. Officers, volunteers, and K-9 units combed through the neighborhood. Helicopters circled overhead. The area behind the house contained trees and brush near a railway line. Wesley had told investigators that he had previously warned his daughters about coyotes in that area, even claiming he had seen them weeks earlier. Yet he said he left Shireen outside near those very trees. During his first police interview, Wesley calmly walked detectives through his version of events. He described Shireen as stubborn and slow to drink her milk. He said doctors had previously expressed concern about her weight and calorie intake, which added pressure on him and his wife. That night, he said, he grew frustrated. He placed her in the garage for a period of time, then eventually moved her outside near a tree. He insisted he only intended to scare her into compliance. Detectives listened carefully, but his demeanor stood out. He showed little visible panic or urgency about his missing child. Instead, much of his focus remained on her refusal to drink milk and his own frustration. As questioning continued, investigators began pressing him about the timeline between 3 a.m. and 8 a.m. Wesley claimed he searched the yard and nearby trees in the dark, but was afraid to go too far into the wooded area. He said he waited for daylight before conducting a more thorough search. Only after failing to find her did he call police. One detail particularly troubled detectives. Phone records showed that around 3:50 a.m., Wesley had stopped sharing his location with his wife. The location sharing feature had been turned off. Detectives asked why he would disable that function at the exact time he claimed to be searching desperately for his missing daughter. Wesley insisted he did not intentionally turn it off. He suggested it might have happened accidentally while he was using his phone's flashlight or cleaning up apps. But investigators weren't convinced. Turning off location sharing required deliberate steps in the phone settings. It wasn't something easily done by mistake. They also noticed that his internet browsing history appeared to have been cleared. Wesley claimed he was simply freeing up storage space on his phone. However, the timing once again aligned closely with Sharon's disappearance. As search efforts intensified over the following days, more information surfaced about Sharon's background. She had been adopted from India by Wesley and his wife. Medical records indicated she had developmental challenges and difficulties with feeding. Previous X-rays reportedly showed injuries in various stages of healing, suggesting that she had experienced physical trauma in the past. Although earlier investigations by Child Protector Services had been closed, these findings added another layer of concern. On October 11, 2017, based on his admission of leaving Sharon outside overnight, Wesley was arrested and charged with injury to a child. His other daughter was removed from the home by Protective Services. Wesley was later released on bond, but the search for Sharon continued. Then, on October 22, the case took a devastating turn. Sharon's body was discovered behind the family's home in a wooded area. Authorities stated that evidence suggested she had been placed there. The discovery confirmed what many had feared from the beginning. Wesley was brought back in for a second round of questioning. This time, his story changed. Instead of insisting that Sharon disappeared while standing outside, he admitted that something had happened inside the house earlier that night. He claimed that while trying to force her to drink milk, she began coughing and choking. He described patting her back but said her condition worsened. He admitted that he panicked. Rather than waking his wife immediately or calling for emergency assistance, he said he tried to handle the situation on his own. According to his revised statement, by the early morning hours, he believed she was no longer alive. Instead of reporting what had occurred, he said he made a decision to stage a disappearance. He placed her body outside and later fabricated the story about leaving her near the tree. Investigators concluded that his initial narrative had been an attempt to cover up what truly happened. The charge of injury to a child was upgraded to capital murder and tampering with evidence. The autopsy results could not definitively determine the precise cause of death due to environmental factors, but officials stated that the findings did not support his explanation of an unavoidable accident. Facing the possibility of the death penalty, Wesley eventually entered a plea agreement. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of injury to a child by omission. In exchange, prosecutors did not pursue capital punishment. He was sentenced to life in prison. The case left lasting scars on the Richardson community. It raised difficult questions about child protection systems, parental pressure, and warning signs that may have been overlooked. Neighbors described the family as quiet and reserved. Few suspected the turmoil behind closed doors. Sharon's story became a heartbreaking reminder of how quickly frustration and poor judgment can escalate into irreversible tragedy. What began as a claimed disciplinary measure turned into a chain of decisions that ended a young life and destroyed a family. In the end, it wasn't the darkness of the wooded area that concealed the truth. It was the shifting explanations, the delayed call for help, and the digital trail left behind that slowly unraveled the story. Investigators pieced together the inconsistencies, and the facts told a different version of events than the one first reported that morning. A 3-year-old child lost her life. A father lost his freedom, and a community was left trying to understand how something so preventable could unfold in the quiet hours before sunrise.